Great one.
That's probably eventuality.
Morning, everybody. Morning. I call to order the Board of Fence viewers, April 12th, 2023. The time is 9:05. This is a public meeting being audio and video recorded for cable broadcast and internet posting on www.dayton-ma.gov as well as YouTube. I'd like to ask us to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Attendance is Easter Day and school art, more all here. We have two items under old business. First one is the status of 2396 and 2386 Pleasant Street. That would be Berdos and Kuchenbauer situation. Guess who would like to go first to give us some sort of update? Do you want to go to the podium there?
You can stand right there. It's fine. Yeah, we can see you on the camera, so well, that's fine.
That's all.
So after the last meeting, my concern was just confirming that northern line, which runs up the lane and Wall. So I reached out to two other surveyors and as usual, to no success. One was too busy, one is out of surveying, focusing on engineering. So I reached out to Outback, who's done the survey, and asked them to stake and mark the driveway as soon as possible. So that was last week. I requested that. He responded yesterday. We have an appointment, 9 a.m. For him to stake and mark his file. And I confirmed last Friday, Good Friday, with the fence person that he can still meet again, switch the fence the end of April. He promised that he could do it at that time frame. So that's where we are. At this point, I want to see what Outback came up with, because as of now, I just simply had the plot plan and we all looked at it last time. So I asked him to stake out the line so I can see his line versus what the Berdoses had done.
So who was the company they used? Was that the Outback used was your company?
Outback's me. he is
Outback.
Lighthouse.
And Lighthouse? Yeah, okay, that's right.
And my biggest concern was both of them used the southerly wall, which came after the fact. I just wanted to see what the northerly line was. So without.
So I'm of the impression, based on what we talked about before, is that both surveyors were in agreement on the line.
Correct.
Okay, because earlier you said you wanted to see the difference. So there is no.
If there was a difference, you wanted to see it, because you had worked on, they had worked on different companies. But then your company
Yeah,
referred to theirs as being accurate.
They're
And
in.
you're saying, come out and show me.
Yeah.
Is that kind of where we're
I don't
at?
see a stake in the ground or any markings at this point. Let me see where it is. As of now, I just have people saying I'm in.
You want something physical on the ground to say, here's where it is what you're saying.
And I just wanted him to show me his points to achieve that.
And that's. So that's supposed to happen in a week, correct?
The 19th, 9 a.m.
So that's 1 week from today.
Correct.
And so he's going to mark it. And
And ask
then,
him to mark and stake.
and then shortly thereafter, you should be getting the fence company to move the wall to that line, correct?
Correct.
Any issues?
Yes.
Yes. Do you have anything else to say? I'm sorry.
Just in regards to the staking, once again, the northerly line versus the southerly line. I'm not arguing the line per se for the fence. They all use the southerly line, which is the southerly wall, which came after Ramirez bought the property in the 20s. There's a northerly wall behind Mr. Burris' thing, which had the lane in place. The wall was in place for the railroad, well prior to that line that they're using. My question was, why didn't they use that line?
The northerly
So
line. As
That's-
opposed
that
to
was-
southerly.
this is my whole hang. If someone held the northerly line and showed and it all matched up, I'm good. What they did was they took the southerly line, pushed towards us.
And I think you wanted some clarification on why they used a southerly instead of a northerly. Correct? Was that?
Well,
Part of the
that's
discussion.
my guy, in terms of Lighthouse, they can do what they want.
Right.
I just had requested my guy, and that's sort of why I've been trying to get someone else just to confirm the line, because if this edge is the northerly wall, they have the point here starting up here on this side of the wall. And the trajectory crosses the wall to the point at the bottom of the driveway. I'm just saying if this is the northerly wall,
Well, he's
Oh,
gonna,
that's fine.
so your guy's gonna stake it where he says, this is where my mark is. This is where I say it is. And it's
One
gonna
point-
probably match up with what your people said. I'm thinking, right?
He's looking for the other side, though, he's not, he doesn't basically want to agree with the southerly point, he wants his surveyor really to use the northerly point, is what I think we're getting at here. Because he doesn't agree with the two southerly points.
Right, that's what it sounds like. So then,
on
him marking
I'll agree with the southerly points if someone can show me if they use the northerly points
to get to
and
the.
it matches up over here, I'm okay. I just,
If I may, I think the purpose of this board.
Yeah.
We have two surveys. They've both agreed. What you're discussing is that you have a disagreement with the methodology used by the surveyors. I would suggest that fences can be moved quite easily. At this point, you're talking, what sounds like a long drawn out affair of fighting. I would suggest, when they stake it out, just a week later, by the end of April, move the fence to that line. If you want to continue fighting about it, please go ahead. But as far as this committee is concerned, I'd like to bring the matter to.
I told the Burroughs and here, I've reached out to the fence company. I called last week to assure that the fence can be moved the end of April. I just want to see what Outback comes up with. Because based on plot plan shown and stuff, I'm questioning, does he have exact measurements? So I want to see how we,
Yeah, I think that's a conversation between you guys and not for this board.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think you're
I
right.
think at this point.
We have to go based on what two companies say, regardless. We can't argue. We should have looked at north, should have looked at south, whatever. That's your discussion, fine. It's obviously
I
right to
understand.
And
disagree with them, but we got two people saying the same thing and they are licensed folks.
two licensed predators, but let me point out that if in time, you do fight. And you find that it's wrong.
yeah,
I welcome you to come back and we'll tell you to move the fence again.
yeah.
Okay, that's what I'm saying is at this point in time, we just want to move the fence and get it done all.
I understand. I just want it done right. I understand this has been on the docket forever, longer than it should. Even though this meeting probably should have landed a little bit further down the road, just so I had time to have my guys stake it out. And I've been emailing him right after our meeting, just, stake it, mark it, all of that. And unless I include someone else in an email, I'm not getting a response, So that being said, I'm not trying to string this out. The fence, I'm planning on moving the end of April. At this point, I do not have any markings or anything to go by versus what Lighthouse is saying and what Dave and I have discussed. So I'm happy to move the fence, just want to see the markings next week. And I just want to see the points used to achieve that. That's all, because I believe the southerly line was held.
Which is good, that's fine, but if what you come out with ends up being something different. And you have a dispute, I don't want this to continue going on and on for more months.
Oh, I understand.
That's what I'm saying. You agree?
I agree, it shouldn't go on for more months, and I will move the fence to the line established for the fence line. But I'm not gonna say that's the property line until I am 100% convinced that that's the line.
We're fence viewers. That's really our responsibility.
That's our job, yeah.
That's our job as fence.
In other words, we can't do anything with the fence until you come up with this point, we're not.
So he's saying 1 week from now, they're gonna make the point.
He's gonna mark it, and then I'll
They're gonna move the fence.
call.
Will be moved.
If
if we understand this correctly.
I have a question. So are you saying you're gonna move the fence according to the results that you find and not the results that we got from White House?
They're in an inch of each
Okay.
other is what I'm hearing, but hearing one thing and seeing the markings are two different things. He hasn't marked the driveway at this point. There are no markings on the driveway whatsoever.
So the way I understand it is right. His guy's just gonna come out, put a stake in and say, here's where I say, and here's what Lighthouse both said, we agreed it's here. The fence is getting moved to there. He can take further discussion to somebody else to say, look, I disagree with the two people agreeing on that mark, but he's moving the fence, right? If we understand that correctly.
Well,
Fence
it's
will be
actually,
moved next week.
actually, I see a potential issue. What if his guy comes up with a different point? And then
Then
moves
what
it-
we had 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, and then he moves it to that point.
Well,
This is the only reason I'm saying, just let me see the stake in the ground and where it is. That's all. The top point, there's no argument. The 2.5 feet at the top, 2.7. There's no argument. That's the edge of the wall that was discussed, which he owns.
well, if he comes back to you and says, and puts a stake in a different spot than we
May I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
You'll have to make a motion. I'll entertain a motion. Pretend to be Lenny here. I will entertain a motion to say that the fence shall be moved as long as the surveyors agree. If they do not agree, then the fence is not to be moved and we'll reschedule for next meeting. What do you think about that? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
If
do.
They
I
are
think the
all
problem
agreed,
is It
just
still
move it.
kicks these guys down the road. And we had two people just 2 weeks ago, two companies licensed, agreed in the same spot. So if he comes out, his guy comes out tomorrow and says, oh, I'm gonna move it again. Well, come
Well,
on,
he's a
really?
licensed guy.
I
He
realize,
is the guy
but
that,
What did he, why did he say 2 weeks ago then that it was the same spot as Lighthouse? And now if he comes down and moves it, I see only the schedule.
See where,
I know he wants to see it, but I'm saying is I have a problem if his guy doesn't put it where he said it should be.
Well,
Change it.
and that's why I'm saying,
And that's-
if he doesn't put it where we believe it should be, I don't want him moving the fence to the wrong line.
Right.
I don't see him have to move the fence.
Again.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not gonna put the fence.
All right, then that motion is so moved.
but
Did you get that?
you and I can talk about that. And
if the line,
Okay.
I can.
The only
You
thing is,
don't want to move it twice. That's fine. I so move that motion.
Any discussion?
I didn't second it because I got another motion. And since I haven't participated in the discussion, I'd like to say something.
Okay.
Well, please go ahead.
The motion I'm looking at is that we accept the information from two independent surveyors regarding surveys agreeing that Mr. Kuchenbauer and that Mr. Kuchenbauer will have the fence moved on or before April 19th. The parties may return to the Board of Fence Viewers should there be a discrepancy.
That's not exactly correct.
19th is a
The
state.
19th is when they're gonna stake it out. Maybe like a week after that. they're gonna do the fence.
What
What's the date?
do you anticipate? 26.
Yeah, he'll come on.
So your fence guy's coming out what day?
he hasn't given me an exact day.
You just said last week of April.
Twice. I told him I needed the fence moved by the end of April. The surveyor has yet to stake it. No one has staked it. It's just
Right, well, the 19th is being staked, so that's next week. And then it's supposed to be moved the week
by the
after that.
end of April.
By the end of
I don't know
April.
when,
So it's 28, 29, 30s or something.
somewhere around the end of April. I don't have.
You want to change the date on that, Nancy? You can
Well,
re-motion, it,
actually,
Our next meeting is supposed to be May 3rd,
okay?
but I'm actually
That's
not gonna
close
be in. I don't know what you guys want to do. Can
well, we'll
handle
do
it without me.
Um,
I'll send my assistant.
so that, what I'm thinking we need to do today is to hopefully resolve this today, but give both parties options. If this doesn't work out, they can come back. He can get the property staked by his surveyor, assuming hopefully the surveys, the position of the staking is acceptable and he removes the fence, then hopefully this is done. But in any case, if there is a discussion about the actual location, they're gonna come back anyhow. as long as there's a question about the boundary. I'm just looking to move this thing forward and hopefully get it resolved.
Trust me, I'm
So, yeah,
So what is,
so what's the motion then?
Uh,
Just change the date. I think the motion was, right?
Okay, that we accept the information from two independent surveyors regarding their surveys agreeing, and that Mr. Kuchenbauer will have his properties staked. Is that what we're gonna say instead of move the fence? Or are we gonna tell him he's gonna move the fence? What do you want for the rest of it?
I would say state
staked?
and moved.
We'll have the fence, we'll have the property staked. I'll give this to you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
On April 19th, is that the date you got with?
for the,
Staking.
yes,
Staking.
for the surveyor to meet me 9 AM
That's the
on the
19th.
19th.
With stakes in hand.
So it'll be staked on the 19th, moved by end of month.
If
If
they want to get paid.
they're in agreement with the stake,
If both parties are in agreement,
if they are in agreement, right?
otherwise,
Otherwise, they gotta come back.
don't move the fence.
Okay, all right, all right. The motion is that we accept the information from two independent surveyors regarding their surveys agreeing, and that Mr. Kuchenbauer will have his property staked.
Yes. Or the line.
We'll have
Fence lines.
his property staked on April 19th. And the fence will be moved by the end of April if both parties are in agreement. Separate sentence, the parties may return to the Board of Fence Viewers should there be a discrepancy.
Second the motion.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? I'd like to say, that should we just put them on the schedule as a placeholder
Sure.
to cancel?
Yep.
So we will plan on having you here unless I get calls from both of you guys saying that we're all good, and then we'll just drop you off.
Yeah,
Okay,
just one note, everyone's short-staffed, super busy, so this is why I've contacted the fence person twice. He came out that Thursday at.
Oh, okay, but let us finish this.
I'm just saying,
Okay,
there could be a little wiggle room within a few days.
well, May 3rd is a few days, so.
I mean. for the
We'll put you
fence.
back on some.
Right, so.
Second, motion made, seconded.
Any other discussion?
Any
Do you
discussion?
have
Nancy?
any comments on that motion before we vote? Do you?
Well, he's coming back to the stakes in.
So you're getting stakes in and he's getting stakes in. So your guy's putting your stakes in, his guy's putting his stakes in.
Well, I'll let him do his stakes and then I'll see whether I agree, because I know where the stakes should be.
Yeah, okay.
And then I'm gonna call Rick up if he's good with that, I'm good with that. I wanna
Okay.
call Rick.
Right, okay, well, that makes sense.
So procedurally, what I just read and what
It's fine.
that Eric put in the wording, this is the next step that we're gonna take as a board. So is that okay?
Yes.
So you're all set?
Made, seconded.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye,
motion carries.
thank you very much.
So May 3rd,
One thing I would do is tell them you're under an order from the fence viewers.
The
to
town.
move This thing, you've
The
got,
town.
this is, they have
Yeah,
to come
the
down
town,
and do this, like the town has told
I'm
them.
happy to share emails because
Yeah,
this has been the process all
I
along.
get it. You tell them, look, I got no wiggle room on this now. I've been ordered by the town to move this thing by such and such a date. Now, we get it. If there's a discrepancy and there's a day or two here, we get it. Somebody's doesn't come out when they show up, they're supposed to show up. We kind of get that too, but.
Yeah, that was it, yes, I mean.
You guys can work together on that flexibility.
More jobs, it doesn't have to be.
Yep.
That day, you can't get it out.
Get it.
It's all whatever.
What I want to say is you can use as leverage. You can use as leverage to tell them you've been ordered by the town to move this thing, so they can't keep delaying. If it's a couple of days, fine. You guys can work with each other. If it's not Tuesday, it's gonna be Friday instead of Tuesday, whatever works out. We're fine with you guys doing that and cutting us out of that loop. We're just worried about the stake and then it get moves eventually, right? So if you guys are fine with timeframes, then you can cut us out of the loop. Otherwise, we just have to worry about where it goes.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, guys. Okay,
Thank you very much.
we'll see you on the water.
Thank you.
Next item is status of 2308 and 2298 Pleasant Street. That would be the McKeon and Kane property. I have not been paying attention to Zoom, but haven't heard
Yeah.
anybody try to come
So-
in.
Would you take him off mute if he were there? I don't think he's there.
He's not there.
Okay.
There's
So-
nobody here. The only, I have nothing to discuss about the status. The only thing is, item 7 is the email.
Yeah, I'm confused about something. Correct me if I understand this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kane. Saw Mr. McKeon doing something he didn't agree with. Or said he shouldn't be doing. Is it that?
So are we-
is it moving a stone
Let's-
somewhere?
Let's talk about the email separately, unless there's, because it's on another agenda item.
Oh, I get you.
So unless there's something besides the email that we want to talk about in this case.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman. I make a motion that we take agenda items 4B and 7A at the same time because there is a connection.
A second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
All those in favor?
All in favor?
Sorry.
I,
Aye.
So,
Please talk about the email.
yeah, so I thought we weren't taking any correspondence from anybody other than the trustee.
okay,
Trustee
so
was making
So,
decisions.
so this was, so we received a communication
Yes,
and by our agreement, we had to forward that communication. I would like to state, because I read the email, that Mr. Tibbet has no legal standing at all in this case. And therefore, I mean, I'll read the email. But other than that,
we all read.
there's no action we
You
need
don't
to
need
take
to.
on it.
Read it necessarily, but I just thought we weren't taking his, we were dealing with the trustee, period.
Well, we can't
We can't ignore.
ignore any communication from any resident. So
Right, well, wouldn't he have to take it to her? I thought that's what we were doing, just take
Okay,
communication from the
but
person.
what
So
they're
Wouldn't he take
talking
it to the trustee, the trustee take it to us?
what they're talking about, if it had merit, which it doesn't.
Okay.
What they're talking about is open meeting law, correspondence, agenda items, all
Right.
that good stuff. So there was an email that came in. It
Right.
was sent to us individually. I agree. This, Mr. Tibbetts has absolutely no standing. My position is this board resolved this issue with Ms. Quirk. Is it Quirk?
I think so.
Yes,
may
Who
I,
was trustee.
may I read the email first and then?
Yeah, it's fine
So
with
if
me.
anybody's watching, they'll know what the context of what we're talking
Yeah.
about.
And why he has no standing.
So I read the email here from Mr. David Tibbetts on April 1st. It was sent to the Fence Viewer Board. It says, "Dear Fence Viewer Board, I'm in a difficult position as I've been asked not to be involved in the stone wall location between McKeon and Kane properties located on Pleasant Street. However, I witnessed measurements made on boundary lines between two properties, and this raises legal issues. Any movement of stones called for in a deed can only be made by a licensed land surveyor. As the statutes allow fence viewers to use a surveyor, I would strongly recommend this be done before any work begins at the site. Secondly, I noticed the definition of a fence requires it to be 4 feet high. None of the stone walls reach that height. Does this requirement need to be met for fence viewers' involvement? As a former land surveyor, I see this as a clear case of a boundary dispute and not meeting the standards of arbitration by fence viewers. Sincerely, David." And then he attached some quotations of various Massachusetts laws.
Mr. Chairman, comment, I looked up the definition of fence viewer too. And he didn't put in that email the rest of the story because the very end, it describes what can be considered as a fence. And it could be made out of stones or iron or wood. Obviously, they didn't have vinyl back in those days. But it also pretty much said, or anything the Board of Fence Viewers considers to be a fence. So we certainly recognize.
So
stone
wide
walls.
authority on that.
Exactly.
Matt.
So,
Thank you, Nancy.
And the other thing too is, it's Mr. Tibbetts is talking about legalities and all that. As far as I'm concerned, this board acted very prudently over a long period of time and settled this dispute over the boundary with the trustee of the Kane estate, who is the only person that has any kind of legal standing, and with the trustees of the McKeon estate. They reached agreement. Money is being held to pay for this wall. And if Mr. Tibbetts feels strongly there are legalities involved, my advice to him is get a lawyer and settle this within your family. It's no longer a town problem. If there is a dispute with the people who owned the property and put it into a trust or with a trustee, hire a lawyer and resolve it. It's got nothing to do with this town.
Can I also make another point along those lines that I'm pretty sure this board never actually gave an order on that wall. We simply mediated the dispute between the two parties.
Exactly.
And the moving of the walls is of their decision at this point. I mean, we may give an order, but up until now, we have not, we said fix the wall, yeah. And they agreed there was a dispute over the corner where it was. We resolved that dispute. They both parties agreed to move it to where it should be. You know, not changing it, just move it to where it should be. We did not order them to do that. So we're addressing some of the issues that he's given in the email, but I strongly state at this outset, the email cannot be, we cannot pay attention to it because he has no legal standing. And as much as I may sympathize with his situation, we're in no position to help him at all because it's not his wall.
And he was never an owner of the property originally before it went into a trust. He's not a party to the trust.
Right.
And the
That's
other
what I
thing
meant.
is,
He doesn't own the wall.
the other thing is, as far as I'm concerned, the final step that had to be taken was money is being held to pay for half of the repair work. And the other parties will pay their share, 50%, when the work is completed. Once you put the money up and say, here it is, here's my share, that's pretty final to me.
Yeah.
Thanks for the
Yes,
clarification. 'cause that's
My
what he did.
understanding is, the last I spoke with Mr. McKeon, I believe sometime in May, they're supposed to be doing the actual work.
Okay. Thank you for that
Okay,
clarification.
any new business? Public input?
Under correspondence, and this isn't official, this is just public input, it's like public information. I was contacted from another company dealing with solar, I'll call it properties. This is a proposal that has been initially, initial contact's been made with the planning board, but no papers, no plans, nothing else has happened. But this particular company is representing some property owners up on Oak Street. And the proposal is that there may be something about tax agreements, but I just wanted to mention this to you. I realize it'll come before the Board of Assessors, but sort of because we're fence viewers and nothing's in dispute. This is just saying this may come, I don't know, but one way or another, it will fall to us because of the other elected position we hold. So this is just an informational thing. This will be the first. Well, it'll be the second battery storage facility, if in fact it happens. So we'll just keep you in the loop. Whatever.
Do they have fences around it?
I don't even know where it is. It's got a yellow line.
It's in the-
Fence viewers.
Looks like it's pretty landlocked there.
It's got a yellow line.
Yeah,
So
okay.
anyhow, just, but you can see the proximity. I think that's a high tension line, but in any case, just something came up I want you guys to know about and.
The issues that we've dealt with so far have been just basic, backyard kind of things. Imagine what a nightmare it would be if somebody was arguing about a fence in the middle of the woods.
But in any case, it's just right now, it's out there. And I say it'll come, if it if it moves to fruition, it's gonna come to us in our other capacity and eventually.
Okay,
Any other public input? We already did correspondence, review and approve.
I don't
minutes.
have any minutes. right?
Okay, we do not have them. And anticipated items. Nope. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.